The galaxy had forgotten Earth. 2,000 years was more than enough time for memory to turn into legend, and legend to dissolve into myth. The archives of 100 civilizations spoke vaguely of a blue-green planet on the rim of a quiet arm of the Milky Way, cradle of a species once bold enough to launch itself among the stars. But no one had seen it in millennia. Astronomers swore the coordinates were empty. A billion star maps showed nothing, just void where a system should have been. And so the galaxy moved on. Empires rose, coalitions fractured, peace treaties were signed on shattered moons. Yet every now and then, whispers drifted through the diplomatic chambers of the Galactic Concord. Some said Earth had destroyed itself. Others claimed it had ascended to a higher plane. A few, in hushed voices, insisted Earth had been hidden, taken away, sealed by something far older than humanity itself. No one expected it to return. Not until the night the stars shifted. The Concord's deep space listening arrays reported at first a sudden gravitational ripple, as if a world had been dropped back into the fabric of spacetime. Fleets scrambled, transmissions crackled, and by dawn cycle, the impossible had been confirmed. A star system had reappeared in the void, with planets, moons, and at its heart, a small blue sphere. Earth. Commander Michael Carter had seen war. He had led men and women through the ash clouds of the Draken incursion, watched cities burn across the colonies, and returned home to a galaxy that swore peace would last this time. But nothing in his decorated career could have prepared him for this. The briefing chamber of the Concorde Fleet Command was silent when the hologram came alive before them. It was Earth, spinning slowly in the dark, its oceans shimmering with the familiar hues of blue and green. Carter felt his throat tighten, though he had never once set foot on the planet itself. Few had, no one alive had seen it before yesterday. "This recording is genuine," Admiral Hayes said, her voice firm but strained. "We've confirmed it with 3 independent scans. The Sol system has returned, precisely as the ancient archives described." "Returned," someone muttered at the table. "You make it sound like it was taken." The Admiral didn't answer. Carter leaned forward, his hands folded tightly. "And the planet itself? Signs of life?" A hesitation. Then, a flick of Hayes' wrist, another projection appeared. This time, they saw city lights glowing faintly against the darkened continents. A heartbeat of civilization. Gasps filled the room. "They're alive," Carter whispered. "They are," Hayes confirmed. "And they've been waiting." The first envoy mission was launched within hours. A small, sleek diplomatic cruiser, the Aurora's Voice, was chosen to make contact. Carter was not meant to be on it. He was military, not diplomatic. But Hayes had pulled him aside before departure, her tone low and unreadable. "They asked for you," she said. Carter frowned. "Who?" "Them. The ones who answered our hail. The people of Earth knew your name, Commander, before we even transmitted it." The words unsettled him more than any battlefield ever had. The Aurora's Voice descended through Earth's atmosphere 3 days later. Carter stood at the viewport, staring down at clouds that looked impossibly alive, oceans that shimmered like liquid sapphire. Cities stretched across the continents, yet something about them felt wrong. Too precise. Too intact. As though 2,000 years had passed and not a day of decay had touched them. Beside him, Ambassador Sarah Donovan adjusted her uniform and tried to mask her nerves. "We're about to meet ghosts," she murmured. "No," Carter said softly. "Ghosts don't answer the radio." The ship landed in what had once been Washington, D.C. The skyline was different, taller, stranger, but fragments of the old city still clung to the earth like stubborn memories. Waiting at the landing site was a delegation of men and women, human, undeniably human. Their clothing shimmered with woven light, their eyes reflecting a brilliance no ordinary genetics could explain. The leader stepped forward. A tall man with dark hair and eyes that seemed to pierce through centuries. He smiled faintly when he saw Carter. "Michael Carter," he said, his voice steady, almost rehearsed. "Welcome home." The words struck him like a blow. "I've never been here," Carter replied cautiously. The man's smile deepened. "Not in this life." Donovan cleared her throat, trying to reclaim the moment. I am Ambassador Sarah Donovan of the Galactic Concord. We come seeking peaceful dialogue. The man raised a hand. Peace is why we returned. But peace cannot last in your galaxy. You know this. Donovan stiffened. And who are you, exactly? My name, he said slowly, is Elias Ward. And we are the children of Earth, preserved across time, awaiting the moment of return. The galaxy has forgotten us. But we did not forget the galaxy. That night, Carter was given quarters inside a pristine tower that rose above the heart of the city. He could not sleep. Every window showed him a world that should have been ancient ruins but looked alive, vibrant, untouched. And Elias Ward's words lingered in his head. Peace cannot last in your galaxy. Why say that to the Concord's envoy? What did he know? Hours later, Carter stepped out onto a balcony. Below, he saw Earth's people moving in strange formations, groups walking in synchrony, patterns woven into their every step. Not random crowds, but something orchestrated. And when Carter looked up at the night sky, his heart froze. Satellites orbited above, not hundreds, but tens of thousands, arranged in vast lattices, pulsing with faint light. A cage of technology that should have taken empires to build, yet Earth had done it in secret, unseen, while it was missing from the galaxy. Beautiful, isn't it? Elias Ward's voice came from the shadows behind him. Carter turned, hand instinctively brushing the weapon at his side. You've been preparing, he said carefully. Ward nodded, his eyes glinting. For 2,000 years, Commander. While the galaxy forgot us, we built. We remembered every betrayal, every invasion, every empire that cast humanity aside. We are not here to seek forgiveness. Then why return? Carter demanded. Ward stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Because peace is an illusion. And Earth has come back to shatter it. Commander Michael Carter didn't answer right away. Elias Ward's words still rang in the night air like a blade pressed against his throat. Peace is an illusion. And Earth has come back to shatter it. Carter had spent his entire life believing that peace, fragile, uneasy, and fleeting, was worth every sacrifice. He had lost comrades, cities, and too many sleepless nights to wars that were supposed to end all wars. Now here stood a man who looked human, spoke human, and yet carried a weight that no ordinary diplomat or soldier could bear. Ward wasn't warning him. He was promising him. Carter's hand tightened against the cold rail of the balcony. You've been gone for 2,000 years. The galaxy changed. We learned to coexist. Ward's eyes narrowed, unreadable. Did you? Or did you just pause long enough to catch your breath before the next conflict? Carter wanted to argue, but he couldn't. In the quiet spaces of his memory, he remembered the carnage on the colony worlds, the fleets that had burned entire systems in the name of order. The Concorde had held, yes, but only barely. Ward stepped closer, lowering his voice. We were sealed away. You think it chance? No. The old architects hid Earth, locked us in a temporal vault. And while centuries passed for you, we lived through every one of them. We built, we adapted, we remembered. And now, the lock has broken. The old architects? Carter repeated, the name clawing at fragments of half-forgotten myths. That's ancient legend. They vanished long before Earth even reached the stars. Ward's gaze burned. Legends are just truths smothered by time. The next morning, Ambassador Sarah Donovan addressed the Council of Earth's returnees. She tried diplomacy, careful words of unity, the Concorde's offer of alliance, shared trade, shared defense. Her voice carried the calm tones of practiced negotiation, but Carter saw her unease. Every time Ward and his council listened, it felt as though they were humorously indulging a child. When Donovan finished, silence fell. Ward rose slowly, his presence drawing every eye. The Concorde preaches unity, he said evenly, yet the galaxy is fractured. Your alliances hold together by paper and fear. Your fleets police, your councils argue, and the powerful feed while the weak starve. Is this the peace you offer us? Donovan's jaw clenched. It is the best we've managed. And it has held. Ward's expression softened, but not with kindness. Peace maintained by exhaustion is not peace. It is waiting for the next blade. He gestured, and the walls of the chamber came alive with projections, holographic feeds of fleets gathering at distant borders, simmering disputes in the Zoreth Quadrant, rebellions in the Aradan colonies. All real. All recent. Carter felt a chill. Earth had been absent, but Earth had eyes everywhere. Ward let the images fade. The Concord cannot hold what it does not truly control. But we, he said, spreading his arms, we endured 2,000 years alone. We built strength not for conquest, but for survival. And when the galaxy inevitably fractures again, Earth will not kneel. Earth will stand above it. The room erupted in whispers and arguments. Donovan tried to cut in, her diplomatic mask fraying, but Carter was no longer listening. His eyes were fixed on Ward, whose voice had dropped to a whisper meant only for him. You feel it, don't you? The truth gnaws at you. The galaxy is a tinderbox. And we, Ward's smile curved, grim and quiet. We are the spark. That night, Carter walked alone through the city. He needed space to think. The streets were spotless, the air unnaturally clean. Too clean. The citizens he passed bowed politely, but their movements were unnervingly synchronized. No laughter in the air, no spontaneous chaos of human life. Every action seemed orchestrated by unseen rhythm. He paused in a plaza, staring up at a statue of a figure in luminous armor, faceless and tall. At its base, etched in English and a dozen alien scripts, was a single phrase. From silence, dominion. The words rattled him. Humanity had vanished for 2 millennia, and in that silence, it had reshaped itself. Commander Carter. He turned. A young woman approached, no older than 20. Her eyes glowed faintly, threaded with golden light. She bowed her head. My name is Lyra, she said quietly. You need to leave this place. Carter's instincts flared. Why? Because Elias Ward speaks truth, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. But not the whole truth. Earth was not just preserved, it was reforged. We are not the same as the humans you think you know. We were changed to serve a purpose. Carter stepped closer, lowering his voice. Changed how? Her hands trembled. Every one of us carries the architect's mark. We are designed. Guided. Programmed, some would say. We build, we obey, we remember. But some of us, she met his gaze, desperation in her voice, some of us still feel free will. And we know what Ward plans. Carter's chest tightened. What does he plan? She swallowed hard. War. Not defense, not alliance. War on the Concord itself. Earth believes the galaxy will fall into chaos. And they mean to accelerate it, to strike first. To make humanity the apex of a new order. The weight of her words hit like artillery fire. Before Carter could respond, a sharp hum filled the air. The plaza lights flickered. Lyra froze, her eyes wide with terror. They've found me, she whispered. Figures emerged from the shadows, silent, armored enforcers whose movements were too precise to be natural. Their eyes glowed the same golden hue. Carter reached instinctively for his sidearm, but Lyra shook her head urgently. Run. Don't let them see you with me. Not a chance, Carter hissed. The enforcers closed in, their footsteps echoing in perfect unison. Lyra turned to Carter, her voice breaking. Tell the Concord. Tell them Earth is not what it seems. And before he could move, she darted forward, straight into the path of the enforcers. Lyra! Carter roared, but his voice was drowned by the surge of light. The girl vanished into their grasp, her scream cut short. The enforcers turned as one toward Carter. For a heartbeat, he thought they would come for him. But then they simply dragged Lyra away, vanishing into the silent streets. Carter stood frozen, his pulse hammering. He understood then that he wasn't just an envoy. He was a witness. And if Ward's words were true, if Earth had returned not to join the galaxy but to dominate it, then the fragile piece of 2,000 years was already dead. When he returned to his quarters, Elias Ward was waiting. "You've been walking our streets," Ward said calmly, as though nothing had happened. "You've seen much. Perhaps too much." Carter met his eyes, defiance hardening in his chest. "I've seen enough to know what you're planning." Ward smiled faintly, like a teacher humoring a student. "Then you also know there is no stopping it." He stepped closer, placing a hand on Carter's shoulder. His grip was firm, unyielding. "You will deliver a message to your Concord, Commander. Tell them Earth has returned, not to beg entry, not to bend knee, but to take its rightful place." Ward's voice dropped to a whisper, cold and resolute. "And tell them, the age of waiting is over." The Concord fleet arrived in orbit above Earth within days. What had begun as a cautious diplomatic mission had transformed into crisis response. 50 ships, sleek carriers, cruisers, and fast interceptors encircled the planet in a defensive ring. To the galaxy's citizens, the message was clear: Earth's reappearance was no longer a curiosity. It was a threat. From his vantage in the observation deck of the Aurora's Voice, Commander Michael Carter watched the armada assemble. Beams of sunlight cut across the hulls, gleaming off banners of every major Concord power. It should have reassured him. Instead, his stomach churned. Because he had seen what waited below. And he knew it was already too late. Ambassador Sarah Donovan slammed her palms against the briefing table. Her voice, usually calm, now carried fury. "You went behind my back, Carter. You should have reported to me the moment you had suspicions. Instead, you kept it secret." Carter's jaw tightened. "If I had gone through channels, Ward would have silenced me before my words left Earth. Lyra risked everything to warn us. I wasn't going to throw her sacrifice away." "She's just one girl," Donovan snapped. Carter leaned forward, his voice low, dangerous. "She's proof. Ward isn't rebuilding Earth for survival. He's building it into a weapon. If we don't prepare for that..." "We are prepared," Donovan cut him off, pointing to the projection of the Concord fleet. "But our mission is still diplomacy. The Council forbids preemptive war. If Earth strikes first, fine, then we respond. Until then, we talk." Carter stared at her, feeling the weight of inevitability settle like iron in his chest. Then we're already dead. The ultimatum came less than a day later. Every channel across the fleet flickered, hijacked by Earth's transmission. Elias Ward appeared, standing tall before a backdrop of Earth's shimmering towers. "People of the Concord," his voice rang out, deep and commanding, "for 2,000 years, you forgot us. While you bickered, while you fought, we endured exile. Now we return, and we will not be ignored." His eyes hardened. "The age of fractured powers is over. Earth stands united, eternal, unbroken. Kneel, or be remade. The architects preserved us for this destiny, and we will not falter." The broadcast cut, leaving silence that pressed heavy in every cabin, every control room. Seconds later, the skies over Earth lit with fire. The satellites Carter had seen, those countless lattices of silver light, came alive. Beams of energy lanced outward, precise and devastating. 3 Concord destroyers erupted into molten wreckage before their captains even had time to scream. Alarms blared across the Aurora's Voice. The fleet scrambled, weapons charging, shields flaring against the sudden onslaught. Evasive maneuvers. Donovan shouted as the ship lurched violently, the deck beneath them shuddering. "Get us out of their firing grid." Carter was already moving, his instincts from decades of war snapping into place. "Their satellites are coordinated, too perfect. If we try to pick them off one by one, we'll lose half the fleet before we breach orbit." Donovan turned to him, pale and furious. "Then what do you suggest?" Carter's mind raced. Images of the synchronized citizens, the golden glow in their eyes, the statue carved with from silence, dominion. "They're not just weapons," he said. "They're connected. Every satellite, every soldier, maybe every citizen down there, they're tied to the same network. Take out the core, and you break the chain. And where's the core? Donovan demanded. Carter's eyes darkened. Ward. The Aurora's voice cut through the chaos, plunging into the atmosphere with escorts burning beside it. Behind them, the Concorde fleet fought desperately, beams of Earth's defense grid slicing through space like the wrath of forgotten gods. Carter strapped into the dropship, rifle across his chest. Donovan sat opposite him, her hands trembling but her chin high. Around them, a squad of Concorde Marines checked weapons and murmured quiet prayers. As the dropship doors sealed, Donovan leaned forward. If Ward truly is the core, killing him could collapse their entire system. But if you're wrong. I'm not, Carter said grimly. I saw it in their eyes. They're bound to him. He's more than a leader. He's the keystone. The dropship roared downward. Fire streaked the sky. They found Ward in the same council chamber where Carter had first seen him. He stood alone, waiting, as though he had known exactly when they would come. Michael, Ward greeted softly, his voice calm amid the storm outside. So predictable. Carter raised his rifle. It ends tonight. Ward's eyes shimmered with golden fire. Do you think you fight a man? I am not Elias Ward. I am the vessel of Earth's will. I am the architect's design. Strike me down, and another will rise. Strike us all down, and Earth itself will stand against you. His voice deepened, resonating unnaturally, as though countless voices spoke through him. You fear war? War is the natural state of this galaxy. Peace is the lie. We will tear away the illusion. We will show the stars the truth of strength. Carter's hands trembled on the trigger. He thought of the fleet burning above, of Lyra's desperate warning, of the golden light devouring human eyes. Maybe Ward was right. Maybe peace was a lie. But Carter had fought wars. He had buried too many under its ashes. No, Carter whispered. Peace may be fragile. But it's worth bleeding for. And he pulled the trigger. The blast struck Ward square in the chest. For a heartbeat, the man only smiled, light spilling from the wound. Then his body convulsed, splitting into a torrent of golden fire that tore across the chamber. The city screamed. Across Earth, lights flickered. Satellites stuttered. Citizens collapsed in the streets, clutching their heads as the synchronized network shattered. And above the planet, the defense grid went dark. The Concorde fleet seized the chance. Ships surged forward, tearing through the crippled network. The sky lit with victory's fire, but also with sorrow, the fire of yet another war ignited. When it was over, Carter stood on the balcony of the ruined tower, staring out at Earth's smoldering skyline. Donovan joined him, her face weary, her eyes wet with exhaustion. It's not over, she said hoarsely. The network's gone, but Earth is still here. Billions of them. And the galaxy will never trust them now. Carter said nothing. His gaze was on the horizon, where dawn broke across oceans too beautiful to belong to a world at war. He thought of Lyra, of her plea to tell the truth. He thought of Ward's final words, of the fire that had poured from him. And he thought of the fragile peace he had fought to protect. Slowly, Carter whispered, it's never over. But as long as we're here to choose peace, then it's never lost. The wind carried his words into the rising sun. And for the first time in 2,000 years, Earth was no longer silent.